This video is to answer the question of Mr. Ben B. His question is, how much is the average pay rate of a housemaid, gardeners, drivers, nannies if you hire them on a full-time basis? Let me tell you that here in the Philippines, there is a Magna Carta for domestic workers. It's Republic Act 10361, the Domestic Workers Act. Under this law, a driver is not considered a domestic worker. It's only the maid or helper, nannies, cook, gardener, laundry person, or any children 15 years old and above working in one household on occupational basis as a live-out arrangement. According to the Department of Labor's Central Visayas as of January 2019, domestic workers within cities and first-class municipalities should receive at least 3,000 pesos a month. Other municipalities, they should receive at least 2,000 pesos a month. Aside from their salary, the law requires that the employer should also provide shelter, food, and assistance to the domestic worker during times of illness. He or she should be given one rest day per week. Under this Domestic Workers Act, there are mandatory benefits that the employer should provide when the domestic worker has already rendered at least a month of service. These are the SSS payment, PhilHealth payment, Pag-ibig payment, and the 13-month pay. And after a year of service, the domestic worker is now entitled to 5 days paid leave per year. And if the salary is less than 5,000 pesos per month, it is the obligation of an employer to pay all the contribution to SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig. Another thing that is required under this law is to let your domestic worker finish at least the basic education like high school. And if it's your prerogative then, if you want them to have access to higher education like college. I used to have a 17-year-old gay working for me as a helper here in the house. After 2 years, his mom died, so I had to help and sort it out by paying the funerals and the hospital bills. And a few months later, he told me he wants to learn something more than just being a maid. So I sent him to learn a trade in some college in the city. He went on and finished 1 year cosmetology, which I paid for, transport, all the tools that he need. He goes to college at 4 o'clock in the afternoon until nighttime. And after a year, he finished the course and said to me that he wants to practice what he learned. He then worked as an apprentice in some beauty parlor in Cebu City. And the last time that we talked, I was happy to learn that he is running his own beauty parlor now somewhere in Laguna, up north in Luzon. This is how you change people's life. You cannot just keep on giving handouts. You have to let them learn how to fish by giving them access to education to better their lives. Now let's go back to the question of Ben B. As I said, the driver is not considered as a domestic worker. A driver is paid of the present minimum wage rate of the city or municipality from where you're residing. A driver is also entitled to an overtime pay if he is working more than 8 hours a day. And of course, he's also entitled to the SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, and 13-month pay. A driver can be hired as a stay-in driver or a stay-out driver. When they are stay-in driver, an employer is expected to provide shelter, food, and assistance during illness because of the convenience that he's always there on call for you. Now, where do you hire all these domestic workers? The usual practice here is to have referrals. Referrals from friends, referrals from your relatives. Even your own relatives can work as a domestic worker inside your home. But to avoid all the hassle, you can hire your domestic workers from a service provider agency. What's the good about the service provider agency? They can give you two replacement within 6 months if your domestic worker will not stay for so long, so you can get your money back. Now, for further information and if you want to do your own due diligence, please read Republic Act 10361 or the Domestic Workers Act or the Kasambahay Law as we call it. Thank you.